Hello, everybody. Everybody, hello. Welcome to another episode and a special Saturday edition of the Tracy Show. I'll tell you guys why I wasn't able to do Thursday here in just a bit. Um, I am so glad that you all could join me. The Saturday show will return next week, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. But before we get started, um, hit that subscribe button, guys. We are literally so close to 500 subscribers. Hit that, smash that, obliterate that subscribe button. Um, it helps me um to get to 500 and eventually 5,000. So just I'll put the link here in the little chat box so you all can see it. Should have had this did before, but yes, hit that subscribe button. Remember to like this page, share. Um, Support me on Patreon. The link is right under my name. Patreon support starts at $2 per month. It helps me to get better likes because, as you can see, I need them. So I am going to interview my guests who I will let introduce themselves. We can't hear you're on mute. Would you like me to unmute you?
I'm sorry, Tracy. Were you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm waiting for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Phil Leone. Is my volume okay? Because I tend to be loud. I'm a loud New Yorker.
Yes, you
Um,
are perfectly fine.
um, so my name is Phil Leone. Do you want to know some of my background?
Sure.
Okay, well, quite extensive. I'm not that young. I graduated undergraduate in the SUNY Oneonta in New York. Then I got my master's in business and accounting at Long Island University CW Post. And I spent about 40 years in the accounting finance world.
What office are you running for?
Oh, I'm not running for any office. I was just, getting involved on social media, and I stumbled into somehow we
That's
stumbled into
great.
each other, and
Yes,
I'm very interested in this.
that is correct. So usually what we do, and everybody knows this on a Tracy show, I actually interview third-party candidates, like people that are actually running for office. But since you're not running, I'm going to go with a whole series of questions, different questions, because I don't know why I forgot that. But first question is, so I think you responded to I was looking to interview people that are more open to the Libertarian Party. Is that correct?
That's exactly it, Tracy. It was the libertarian angle, which I'm new to, and I'm intrigued by it.
Okay, so because I'm not, can you tell me exactly? I should say I'm not, but I'm not a libertarian. I'm definitely a leftist. So maybe you can explain exactly what a libertarian is, because I think I know, but I've heard things. I'm like, well, maybe you can explain it.
I'll do my best. I'm far from an expert, and I'm more of a finance economics person. Um, I will. I'll give it my best shot. So just to let you know, I was kind of always middle of the road. My whole life, I've been pretty much middle of the road. I voted Democrat, I voted Republican, and I kind of flip flop, and I'm not really aligned with either party, if that makes any sense. Um, I've kind of gotten very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm very upset with both sides. I don't align with the total left. I feel like they've gone way too far left. And I don't align with the MAGA right because I feel like they've gone way too far the other extreme. And there's a lot of people sitting in the middle, a lot. And I think that's where the Libertarian Party speaks to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm the far left. I don't think we go far enough, but um, I always want to educate myself because when I think of libertarians, I know libertarians are anti-war, which that is where I actually agree. Libertarians are also for the legalization of marijuana across the board. Um, those are pretty much the only things that I'm like, okay, because for me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, for me, libertarians always seem like they want to shrink. They always talk about the deficit and shrinking it and shrinking it. And I'm like, no, let's do the opposite. We have hungry people. We have people on the streets. We got this, we got this, we got this. Um, and I'm also an MMTer, so I'm like, I don't buy modern monetary theory. I don't necessarily buy into the deficit argument per se, but I always like to hear other perspectives just so I can expand my knowledge. But I always hear libertarians saying the size of government, the size of government. I don't get the small, I guess I don't, what I'm asking is, I don't get the need, what the small government accomplish. Because if you shrink the size of government, that means people in the government are going to lose their jobs. This is how I think. So, what happens to those people when the private sector is not creating jobs? They just are not. The private sector is not creating jobs. So, what happens to those people? They're going to go on public assistance. They're going to go to food pantries. So, I guess I don't understand the libertarians like need for smaller government. I
Okay,
never
I'll,
understood it.
you say a lot of things that make sense, and you sound like a very intelligent person. I like talking to you. You have a you know you say a lot. You're making a lot of sense of what you're saying. Let me see if I can bring it. And I'm new to this whole libertarian thing, but my take on it is this: the libertarians want to get back to like the Constitution, like our very beginnings, almost like a reset. Like we've gotten way out of whack, and the government. And I spent 14 years at the IRS in many levels. And let me tell you something. Most of the federal government, and I'm imagining most government agencies, are not run efficiently. They're big, they're bloated. There's a lot of waste. Okay? That waste is coming out of the pockets of the American taxpayer. So our governments need to be more efficient, if that makes sense. There's a lot of waste. There's a lot of flat out corruption and money being wasted and squandered and all of that. So I think the libertarians want a leaner government, if that makes sense. A leaner, more efficient government. They don't necessarily want to wipe out social programs and all of that. They want a more leaner, efficient government. Now, as far as the economy, libertarians feel like both sides, Democrats and Republicans, especially the last 25 years, have totally mismanaged the finances of the government and the monetary. We'll talk fiscal policy and monetary policy, which is through the Federal Reserve Bank, which is something the libertarians are very upset with, basically our Federal Reserve banking system. I can go down a lot of rabbit holes. I know this about as well as anybody else, the economic side of it. So I don't know how far and deep you want me to get into this. But there's been tremendous monetary and fiscal mismanagement, which has now put us in this position where we're in tremendous debt. The U.S. Treasury just came out and said the United States government is literally bankrupt. We are literally bankrupt. And this, you can fact check me. We are way underwater. Our liabilities are way greater than our assets. So if we were a business, if the United States federal government was a business, it would be severely bankrupt and it would be completely out of business and insolvent. The only reason it can continue going is they can print dollars, and they can print dollars into infinity, which is what they're doing. And that's making inflation that's destroying the lower and middle classes. The bottom 70% are getting crushed, and it keeps getting worse and worse, and it keeps getting better and better for the few elites at the top. And this is what the libertarians are trying to fight. All the money is in the hands of a few. I don't know. Am I making sense, or do you want me to
You're
keep
making
going?
sense, but here's where my contention is, because again, I'm not libertarian, and this is where I'm like, no, this is where I have to separate myself, because as a leftist, the leftist in me says, well, let me phrase what I'm trying to say in this way. So when I hear libertarians say, stop foreign, you destroy the military complex, 100% agree with that. If we would just literally take what we're spending on war and redirect it somewhere else, we wouldn't have all these problems. However, when I hear things like you're saying that you don't want to cut social programs like Social Security, I've literally talked to libertarians that say they want to cut Social Security. They're not from something that I'm very passionate about, Medicare for all. They don't want the government in it. And I'm like, well, the private industry is enjoying it. And most of the bankruptcies that are filed are because of medical debt. So and I never hear the libertarians talk about how do you address the healthcare needs of people with if you just take Medicare and Medicaid away and Social Security, that's a big that's a big chunk That's a big chunk call. And the other thing I don't understand, and you can answer these questions one. Well, no, I'll let you answer that. And then I'm going to ask my question about taxes, because this is a part that I'm like, well, it's not quite gelling with me.
Okay, so very good, Tracy. Again, I'm new to this whole libertarian thing, and I think there's levels to everything. Like there's Democrats, as you're well aware, that are far, far left, that you were like you, that don't think it goes left and far enough, that are, and there's all levels of Democrats. There's all levels of Republicans. Some are really extreme MAGA, and some are more towards the middle. And I think the same thing, at least with me, what I want to do, now I don't know if this fits the Libertarian Party. I want a third party. If it's the Libertarian, great. If not, I've always looked at it like this. I want to pick like a buffet. I want to take some of the things on the Republican side that I like, some of the things on the Democratic side and liberal side that I like, and I want to get to a common sense. It's just common sense. I feel like we don't have common sense anymore. It's not hard. Like, no new wars. We shouldn't be getting involved in all these wars. I don't want to get too political. We shouldn't be fighting Israel's wars. We shouldn't be doing this. Why are we getting involved in all these foreign wars? I agree 100% what you said. All that money. Do you think about all the money we are spending? Just this Iran war right now and all the other wars in our lifetime. I've been from Vietnam on. Think about all that money, like you said, a beautiful thing. If all that money could have been redirected, what we could have done in our own country, we'd have no homeless. We'd have better education. We would solve so many of our problems if we just would redirect the spending, which is what you said. So yeah, I like that. This military industrial complex is killing us. Is killing us. Where else do I want to go with this? So anyway, so that's that. So all the money. So the bottom line is, the money could be better spent, much better spent, much better spent. And now the other thing is, we have roughly a $40 trillion deficit. No, excuse me, $40 trillion debt. We are $40 trillion in debt, and that's a factual number. It's 39 trillion and change. I'll round it to 40 trillion. If you add in what we stole, or I can only use the word stole from, this will be good for you, Tracy, because it sounds like this is a strong, you're into this. What they stole from the Social Security and Medicare fund, they've taken all that money. That's another, I believe, you can fact check me, I want to say like 80 something trillion. So the federal government owes $136 trillion. That's like a credit card debt. That's money they've spent that they don't have. Supposedly, the U.S. Treasury Department was just audited, and they added up all their assets. I don't know if that's gold, land. I'm not sure what their assets are, and they only have about 7 trillion in assets. So the federal government has 7 trillion in assets and has 100 and roughly 30 trillion in liabilities. So any business in the world would be completely underwater. It's completely unacceptable, and it's been completely mismanaged for the past roughly 25 years. Going into 2000, 2001, when Bill Clinton's administration ended, we were pretty much a balanced deficit. We didn't really have a deficit. We had a balanced budget, excuse me. And our debt wasn't terrible. It was very manageable. We've basically done this over the last 25 years. So this is everybody blames one side or the other and points a finger. This is a Republican and Democratic issue. This happened under George Bush Jr., Obama, Trump, Biden, and Trump again. And honestly, they've all equally spent money, been part of this military industrial complex. So this is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is a two-party, not running the government efficiently, not stewarding the taxpayers' money efficiently, and essentially not doing a good job. And that's why we need a third party, or we need a different way. Is any of this making sense?
It makes sense, but here's what I will say. I mean, I've heard these arguments before, so it makes sense what you're saying. I'm just not sure that I'm in agreement with what you're saying, because when I think about a third party, the number one question I'm always gonna ask: where are the Black people? Where are they at? What are you doing because if I don't see anybody that looks like me, this is the problem. I have a problem with this, with the Greens, with the PSLs, so it's not just the libertarians that I have a problem with, and I'm asking, hey, where are the Black people at? Well, some people say we're 13%. I happen to believe we're a higher percent. We just don't participate in the census, but that's a whole different discussion. When I look at it, and you said that about the Constitution, let me make my point. To me, Constitution is garbage, and that's the 3/5 compromise. Slavery is still legal because if you're a prisoner, you can be enslaved. We have not abolished slavery. So when I hear the party is advocating for the Constitution, I'm like, no, we need a whole new one. We need something other than what we have, because what we have, to me, first of all, the document sees me as 3/5 of a person. So I'm going to have problems with that already. To me, the government owes a debt called reparations to the descendants of African slaves. To me, the government owes us health care, because health care is a human right, not just something that the rich people get. So when I hear libertarians arguing against it, I'm like, well, how? It's the how. I understand what you're saying, but it's the how. Like, where does this theory come from? Because I'm seeing it like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense to me. Well, it makes sense what you're saying. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Um, if you're for liberty, true liberty, if the party's for true liberty, we would just get rid of, I don't know whether it's the 13th or 14th Amendment. I forget which one that says, yeah, slavery is still legal. Um, if you're in prison, it's still legal. When I look at the overall context, and I'm going to tie it to where the Black people question it, how does the party, and how does the party move to the modern context where the white population is decreasing? You're saying, we stick to the Constitution. I'm saying, no, the Constitution is garbage. I mean, there's some good parts, but those two things are just garbage. Women don't have rights. There's no women's rights happening. Voting rights are being stripped. So when I hear that Constitution argument, it just really bothers me, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is this the same Constitution that said I'm three-fifths of a person? And that's what I can't get around. And then I can't get around. I'm like, oh, well, that's probably why they don't have a lot of black people because it's not connecting to me. That's what it is. It's not connecting to me. And usually, I used to be in the Green Party, even
Oh,
though I think they have pretty much the same problem. Their message connects. I'm like, oh, I can see where they're going. I don't see where the libertarians are going. That's my problem. I can't see it. And maybe if I could see it, then I'd be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, that makes sense. But I'm listening and I'm like, that doesn't make a bit of sense. That makes no sense to me. Like it
well,
makes sense on an intellectual, but then I'm like, well, if you just look at the deficit or the debt, which one? Because I never can remember the difference between the two. I'm like, screw the debt. I don't care. Oh well, we got debt. Are we feeding our children? Are we clothing the homeless? Are we housing the homeless? Okay, let it run. That's mine. So now I will let you, after that nonsensical putting together things that didn't make any sense, you can now answer.
I like you, Tracy, because you're very honest. I get a vibe that you're very, and I'm like, people get upset with me because you either like me or you don't. Because I'm very real, I'm very direct, and I'm very truthful. Um, so I feel like you speak from the heart, and I feel like you really stand on these issues. And a lot of what you're saying is making sense. I'm not married to the Libertarian Party. I'm new to all this, but what I'm saying is we need a reset. We need a new way because what we're doing now is not working. I think you and I will agree what we're doing
Oh
now
yeah,
is not working.
definitely not
What we're
working.
doing now is not working. Okay. And a lot of people left behind. A lot of you're 100% correct with what you're saying with minorities and all of that. So here's my thing. Do you want to just hear my 2 cents? If I could make a wave a magic wand, we need a reset. We need, there's two things that are happening. I think that the way our tax system, our tax structure is completely out of whack and completely unfair. And I can speak to this more than most as a tax expert. I spent most of the time, I spent 14 years in the IRS, and I could tell you our taxing, the way we tax people is horrific. It's extremely unfair. Essentially, the top 1% or the top 5% basically don't pay tax, and everybody else foots the entire bill. And it crushes the lower classes and the middle class. So I want to just digest that. Do you agree with me that our tax system needs to be totally overhauled?
See that taxes, that's where I hesitate because at a federal level or a state level,
Billionaires don't pay tax. How does
yeah,
that make
that
you feel?
definitely needs to be changed. Because I believe the more you make, the more in taxes you need to pay. Because you
The
make
person making $50,000 a year, $70,000 a year, struggling, working 2 or 3 jobs, $20 an hour jobs. We now have the working homeless because they can't make ends meet. That person is percentage wise paying more taxes than Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett admitted that himself. He said and I don't know if she was African American or not, and that I don't know, but he had a secretary. She may still be a secretary who he was paying $60,000 a year at the time. This might have been like 20 years ago. He looked at her tax return and his tax return, and this man is worth $100 billion and owns everything. And she paid a greater percentage of money in tax than he did. He said, this is egregious. And a lot of the wealthy elite were really angry at him for saying that and opening that can of worms up. He said, something's wrong with the tax system when my secretary, who makes $60,000 a year and is struggling to survive, essentially, is paying a higher percentage in tax than I am. Something's very wrong with the system. And nobody ever talks about this, and you don't really hear this very much. And it's very hush hush. And this needs to be addressed. This is a huge issue, the unfair taxation.
and also
And
large
this is a
corporations
Republican
don't
issue.
pay tax.
This is actually the Republican side, because this is not Bernie Sanders and AOC. They are looking to make it the other way. This is actually a Republican issue. It started with Reagan, and Reagan did a lot of bad things, and I'll admit that. He's the one who brought the corporate and, more importantly, the wealthy tax way down, and it's never come back up again. And Trump is just following the Reagan playbook, whether people realize it or not. He's all about give everything to the wealthy, give everything to the top 1%, give them everything they want, every benefit, and it'll trickle down. Well, I've learned in my lifetime, it never trickles down. They just buy more yachts, more land, more property, more buildings, more companies, more stocks. It never trickles down. That's a bunch of BS, and I think you'll agree with me. So our tax structure is way out of whack. We were
Now,
starting to get somewhere in the 50s, 60s, 70s. The middle class was starting to make ground. Both, all peoples. You know, every I think ethnic group, racial group. Maybe not so much gender because women were still behind at that point, but we're starting to get ahead. And then I don't know. I think it might have started with Reagan. We went a completely different direction, and we've been going down a bad path. And the middle class has just been getting, as you know, and all the problems we have now. It's just been really bad. It's the income inequality is about the worst it's ever been. And I think that's what you're feeling, and that's what you're talking about. It's not good. So what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is one of the problems is the tax structure. We need rich people to pay more into what you're saying, which will give more social programs and more funding. So, end these stupid wars, tax the rich more. I mean, the wealthy rich. I'm not talking about people making $200,000 a year. I'm talking about the uber wealthy, 110 million, 100 million, a billion, 100 billion, a trillion. Those people that can pay way more than what they're paying and use up way more resources than the rest of us should be paying their fair share. That would make a big, if you stop the wars and you tax the wealthy the way they should be taxed, the way they used to be taxed, you would have so much more money to start paying off our deficits, paying off our debts, and maybe start doing more in terms of healthcare, education, affordable housing, all the things I'm guessing that you're looking for. Maybe looking into reparations, things that should be there, but our government is broke. They're spending more than they're taking in by a wide margin. So I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's part of the problem.
You're making sense because I've heard libertarians say this before, but I'm gonna take this a different direction because tomorrow, and remember, everybody watch the Sunday show tomorrow. I am specifically going to be talking about what I think third parties need to do to win. Because it's so bad in our state that I almost voted for a libertarian. It was real close. I did not. I despised the Republican running. I didn't like the Democrat running. So I just end up leaving it blank. To me, when I get to that point, I'm I'm out of options, right? Because now you've got me to the
Where are
point
you,
where
Tracy? What state? Are you Florida?
I am in Indiana.
Indiana. I knew you were back east. Okay.
Yeah.
Indiana. Okay. I don't know much about it.
So here's what I want to get to the libertarians. And again, now this is going to go to my where are all the black people at?
Well, I'll let you just let me do one more. I can wait until you're done. I want to hit two prongs. I talked about the unfair taxing. That's one prong, but there's actually a bigger one. I want to talk about the Federal Reserve monetary banking system, which is actually a bigger burden on the lower middle class minorities. And I'll explain that to you, how that system is 100% catered to the rich, if you want to say white male billionaires, whatever you want to say, which is catered to the billionaires. The system is actually set up and rigged in their favor, way more than the average American knows. That I have researched, I've spent a long time, and I have the knowledge base to really understand this stuff. And I think I understand it really well. I'm trying. I wrote a book on the IRS and the unfair taxing and the unfairness of the IRS. what I really, and that's small potatoes next to the Federal Reserve, banking system, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock. You can, the average American would be sick if they knew how rigged it was for the top 1% and how much money is being siphoned off that could be used again for what you wanted for helping out humanity, social programs, you name it, environment, whatever. It's going to line rich people's pockets. And I could explain that if you want me to get into it, where the
Oh, no,
average
that's
person
okay.
has no
Because
idea.
I think that's where I'm like, okay, that's where I'm like, yes, I'm in 100% agreement. But you got to add the corporations because Walmart, they treat their workers so terrible that most of their workers qualify for public assistance. That shouldn't even be legal to me.
Good point.
Like, if you're going to own a corporation that large, you need to be doing something better. But what I want to get to again, and I'm looking this up on my phone, but I'm going to put it aside because I don't want to get distracted from this question. This goes back to my where, and I'm only asking it because I'm this color. That's the only reason I'm asking it. So I don't want any other races saying you didn't ask about the Asian. I'm not Asian. I'm not Hispanic. I'm not. I'm not. I'm black. That's who I am. When you try to reach, well, wait a minute. One, what state are you in again, please?
I I lived the first half of my life in New York, and I'm living the second half of my life in California. I'm in
So
California
you're
now,
so you're in
Sacramento area.
California. So the Libertarian Party, I'm just going to assume, has meetings and committees and all those things.
Yeah,
What
I've been to
type?
a few.
Uh, First question: what committee are you on? And then the second question is: what efforts are the libertarians making to reach out to the African American community?
Wow, great question. Well, I got to be honest with you. I am not. I'm just very new to this whole libertarian thing. I was involved a little bit back in 2016. I was on a bunch of committees. I was writing my book. I had just left the IRS, and I was working on a lot of these committees for fairer taxation. I've kind of been out of the loop, and I really can't answer your question. I don't know what they're doing, if anything at all, in terms of a push to be inclusive to to all peoples, including the African American community. And if they're not, that's a huge problem. I agree. I don't know
Okay,
what they're
so
doing, if anything. I'm not aware of.
okay,
I'm not aware of anything at this point,
that okay, understand. So
other than a
now we're
broad
coming.
push in social media, which
Yeah,
I don't think is doing a whole lot.
yeah.
I don't
What
think they're very
efforts?
organized. Is the answer.
What efforts would you like to see the Libertarian Party make in terms of making it more inclusive and more diverse?
Well, I think we need a grasp. All right. I want to push the libertarian thing aside. I think this is you and I feel like are speaking the same language. You might be a little further left than me, and of course, you have the African American issues that I don't necessarily do as a half Italian, half Hispanic person. I can relate a little more than you think, growing up kind of in a hood in New York City. And you're going to think I'm just placating you now. I have a lot of respect for black people. A lot of black people have done more for me probably than any other group of people. I find black people to be some of the most honest, direct, generous people I've ever met in my life. They were very good to me when I was down and out, and I've had some issues in my life. That's about the only group of people that's ever helped me out. Maybe somewhat the Hispanics. Certainly not white people. And that's a whole nother story. I won't even get into that because I've been everywhere. I've been on the bottom. I've been in the middle. I was up for a while. And anyway, I digress. But I think we need, whether you call it libertarian, green, I don't care. Call it the Tracy Party. We need a revolution. I don't mean a revolution. We're going to go out and kill everybody, but we literally need a reset. We need to blow up the system we have now. I truly feel this, and we need to scrap it and start again. And we need to have a grassroots effort, and we need to include everybody. Everybody, like you said, the Walmart worker, the person on social assistance, the disabled person. We need everybody. We need to include everybody in this bottom 70, 80, 90%, because we're all struggling to different degrees. And we're all we're all under the claw of this elites that are strangling us. I think this is more than a white black issue. I think it's more than a male female issue. I think they love us pointing the finger and fighting with each other. I think we all need to unite and have a reset. Now, how you do it, I don't know. Easier said than done. But we need a reset because this system is not working. We need an overhaul just about everywhere. Our whole government needs a overhaul. It needs an overhaul because it's not working. We've gone down a bad path, and we're continuing to go down a bad path with no end in sight. And we need a third party. We need to stop this and redirect. Again, I don't know how you do it. It's like turning around the Titanic, but that's what we need to do, Tracy.
I agree. So, and again, I agree with the majority of what you're saying. It's just what I've always heard libertarians say. I'm like, but here's what I want to get to. I was going to actually get to, and again, I'm going to talk about this in depth tomorrow, about what I think that third party candidates don't do well. Again, that's an issue. The second one is develop an economic plan, a solid economic strategy. When they survey people in election years, the one issue that always is guaranteed, I can bet my whole paycheck on it, that's going to come up. It's always the economy. And I never see a third party candidate, whether it's Libertarian, Green, PSL, Constitution, Rainbow Party, Black. I don't see any third party candidate with an economic plan. Like, do something, throw it in there. I don't, and it frustrates me because I'm like, if you can talk, and I'm not saying don't talk about those issues because we want a clean environment, we want clean water, we want housing for everyone, we want those things. But when most people start thinking, they look at their wallets and they judge a candidate on how well they can speak to those issues. And I just think in general, that's a real big, heavy problem for me. And now that I'm talking to you as a libertarian, have you, because you're talking about taxation being unfair, that kind of ties in. How do you see the Libertarian Party of California kind of starting to develop, like, here's the 5 things we want to do, or we want to give, I don't know if the Libertarian Party's for tax breaks or not, but because I haven't researched it that much, but, and I know you're new to it, so you can't really answer the question, but have you, well, no, go ahead. I'm not going to ask this
No,
question next.
Tracy, I'm very impressed. Oh, you're making a lot of good points. I apologize. I wish I was deeper into the libertarian and we got together and I could speak more to it. But from what I know, and I just want to mention one name, the big name in the Libertarian Party who they're pushing hard is a gentleman named Thomas Massie, who's a congressperson, I believe he's in the Congress, and I believe he's in Kentucky. He is a very strong, he's personally the biggest libertarian at the forefront candidate, for lack of a word. And he's very anti-Trump, very anti-MAGA. And he's pushing this libertarian narrative, which I'm still trying to learn on the fly. But essentially, what the Libertarian Party, and I don't know that I'm 100% aligned. I'm more aligned maybe with the far right or the far left. But and I'm sure the Libertarians aren't going to go far enough for you. But what they're trying to do, like I said, get back to the original Constitution, shrink the size of government, end the Federal Reserve, end this corporate end this corporate welfare where we're subsidizing the Walmarts, the Exxon Mobils, the Pfizers, the Eli Lillys, all the huge, Amazon, all these huge corporations that just keep getting more subsidies, more tax breaks. When, like you said, where the CEOs are making obscene amounts of money, the big banks, and paying themselves more and more, and they're squeezing the workers who can't even live, basically. Like you said, the average Walmart person can't even survive or function. Yet these CEOs are making obscene amounts of money, and the people up in the higher echelons of these corporations, like the income inequality is obscene. And we're doing, and this is more the Republicans than the Democrats, although the Democrats aren't totally innocent either. But clearly Trump is just clearly taking care of the billionaires, and I think he lied to the public because he said all these really good things. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to do all these things, and he's just another. He's following the Republican playbook, and we're all frustrated, and the libertarians are certainly frustrated because he's basically just doing the old take care of the elite and really don't worry about anything else and keep feeding the industrial military complex and the elite and the big corporations and do whatever's good for them. I think you clearly would agree with that. And the libertarians are not happy with that. But the libertarians are basically saying, we want to cut all that out. And then basically, but what they're saying, which you're not going to like, is everybody fends for themselves. Basically go back in time, which you're going to say, hey, that wasn't a very good time. Maybe it was a good time for white people, but it certainly wasn't a good time for our black people 100 years ago, wherever you want to take it. And the libertarians basically want to take things back like 100 years where people had more autonomy and it was more pure capitalism and everybody kind of was responsible for themselves without the government on their back, without the Federal Reserve and the IRS on the back, and people are free to then earn the fruits of their labor if they will. And that's kind of where the Libertarian Party is coming from. So I think you're going to say, hey, that's good in one way, but it's not going far enough because they don't really have a plan for what they're going to do to help the underprivileged and the social. They're kind of like, everybody lift yourself up by the bootstraps and, and everybody gets a clean slate and everybody go and do it on your own. Entrepreneurship, work hard and get ahead. That's kind of the libertarian theme. That's a very shortcut way of saying it and oversimplification, but that's kind of the libertarian theme. Does that make sense?
It's making sense, and you are correct. I don't like that answer, and the reason that I don't like that answer,
and I kind of don't either.
When I hear return to what was 100 years ago, let's see, that'd be 1926. My grandfather, well, he was a child. His father couldn't vote. His father could not vote in the South. Black people could not marry white people. So, and yes, I'm giving the Libertarian Party free advice. They might want to rethink that because I'm like, no, we don't want. I don't want to go back to 19. Even I don't even want to go back to the 60s because my mother, she didn't have full voting rights. She did not. She couldn't go past a certain block in the city. She couldn't go past it. I'm the first, my generation is the first generation that got full voting rights. Why in the world would I want to go back? So I think the Libertarian Party needs to rethink that because when I hear, and I do not speak for every black person, I only speak for Tracy. When I hear that, I'm like, absolutely not. Wait a minute, somebody's got a comment. Hello, subscribe if you haven't. But that's because when you said it, in theory, but the
let me rephrase that. And Tracy, you're making me think, which I like. And I think the libertarians do have to change their message. But I think what the libertarians want, and again, I don't speak for all libertarians, and I could be misconstruing, and I could be oversimplifying. But I think what they're saying is we want to go back to a simpler time before all this crazy overblown bureaucracy and corporate welfare system started. Put a date on it when to start. If you want to say it started with Reagan, Nixon, 50, 60 years ago, and they want to go back, but do it as a reset with everybody being at an equal slate. Everybody starting with an equal slate. Everybody has equal opportunity. But basically, everybody's going to kind of do it themselves with very limited government. Now, you're going to say, hey, well, that's great for certain groups of people, but what about us people that have already always been on the lower end and have gotten dumped on.
and
We need
continue to
we
get
maybe
dumped
need a
on.
little more than that. And I think you're right. I think the libertarians need to change that message.
Because
Because
that's
you're
a
right. You're
terrible,
saying,
yeah,
as a
what
black
I'm
person, you're
hearing
saying, well, smaller government,
that's a
start from
that's a
scratch
terrible
from the
message.
level I'm at now. And that's kind of the message of them. But they want to kind of do it where everybody's equal, gender equality, racial equality, and kind of go back 100 years ago, but with everybody on an equal footing, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, but again, to me, that's a terrible message for a party. Let's go back to the Constitution. I'm not trying to be a slave. I, no, absolutely not. That's the first thing I think of. And I think thank you, Theus, for checking in. He said exactly what I'm thinking. Libertarians, not necessarily you, but libertarians in general are automatic no for most black people. Start off from here is a horrible idea for us. It's a horrible idea for us because I'm like, I don't want to go back. There's no way. You tell me to go back, we about to fight because I'm like, oh, heck no. I'm not going to give up my voters' rights. I'm not going to give up my housing rights. I'm not going to give up. No, no. That's I'm like, you might want to think, like, have some type of meeting and reframe because I think I know where you're getting. You're saying before the government got corrupt. My argument is it was corrupt from the get go. It was corrupt when those white men who owned slaves said only rich white males could vote. That's when it was corrupt. And if you could fix that, then yeah, I'd be likely to agree with you. But just to say go back, no, 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 no.
Well, Tracy, I hear what you're saying, and I like hearing your side of it because I get the other side of it, and this is good hearing this side of it and hearing all sides. I think there's a lot of room for compromise. I think we need a third party that blends all of it together. I agree with you. I don't think we can go backwards. We need our Social Security. We need our Medicare. We need the social programs we have in place. But what we do need to do is we do need to end this corrupt, overblown government that subsidizes the wealthy. We need, and you're right, we need a plan. We need a plan. I don't know that anybody has a plan right now, but I think there's an area where we can meet in the middle and solve all these problems and find a plan that's going to work for everybody. But like I said, what we're doing now is not working. What we're doing now is clearly not working. And I think there's room for
And
everyone.
that
And
we
we
can agree
need
on.
that portion of the population. Like you said, I hear that number 13% all the time. I agree with you. I think that number is larger than that. I don't know if it's 15%, 20%, but that faction of the population obviously has to be involved in the solution. And that's a growing, I'm not an expert in this, but I think white people are going down and black and brown people are going up. I never know what to classify myself. I'm an outlier, half Italian, half Mexican, half Hispanic. I have no idea what the heck I am. I never know where to put myself. I never know how to fill out those things. I always put Hispanic because it benefits me, even though I'm like half Hispanic. But anyway, I think you have a lot of good points, and I agree with you. I don't think the Democratic side has all the answers. I certainly don't think the Republican side has all the answers. Some of them have, there's some good things in both that we need to pull out, and I think the Libertarians have some good things. But I don't think we have found yet the agenda or the message that is the solution yet. I think we're getting closer, but I think you're right. I think we need a grassroots third party with a plan to start solving these issues. And I think we need it soon because we're going down a really bad path right now. So I don't
And
know how you
that's
feel.
another thing that I know we'll both agree on. A lot of people who are Democrats, um, um, wait a minute, hold on. I'm gonna get to you, Nelson. I'm gonna get to your comment. So a lot of people who I talk to are unfortunately Democrats. I will always criticize the Democratic Party more harshly than I will the Republic. I don't care about the Republicans. To me, they're a bunch of racists. That's just all they are. I don't think about them. They don't matter. They do whatever. They never, I always say, they always tell me exactly what they think of me. I don't have to sit here and wonder what they think about me. They tell me they don't want me to vote. They don't want me to live in fair housing. They want to take away DEI. They want to take away my civil rights. So I know that about them. Problem I have with the Democrats is um, they pretend to care. And I think that's why
I love what you said.
I can't really
Hypocrites.
say it the way I want to, but I'm like, you pretend to care. And here's what I'm getting to. So a lot of people, so if you'll know, I know this is going on in your city, the No Kings protest is today. And people will show up with their signs,
Oh,
but they don't realize that Trump is not the problem. Trump is not the problem. He's a symptom of the problem. He's the result of the problem, but he's not the problem. The problem is we're giving money to billionaires. That's the problem, not Trump. Trump is not bright. He's not bright. Listen to him talk. He's not bright. He doesn't think of those ideas of his own. So I'm like, until people see that Trump isn't the problem, they're going to continue to vote either Democrat or Republican.
wow.
How do you think we can get around this? Because I'm like, people, Trump isn't the problem. Oh, yeah, he is. I'm not saying he's a good president. Do not get me wrong. I am not. That man is a terrible president. But who of them was a good president? I mean, we've had what, 47 presidents? They're all been garbage. Maybe JFK because he only served 2 years. Okay, I'll give him the benefit. Maybe Lincoln because he eventually signed the Emancipation. Maybe, but in general, I'm like, we've had 47 terrible presidents. 47. We're all for 47. When are we going to realize that it's the billionaire class? That's the problem, not Trump. That's my
Wow.
spiel.
That was really well said. That was really well said. You sound like me. Wow. Wow. I can't disagree with what you said. You're pretty intelligent. You absolutely nailed it. I can't argue with it. You nailed it. I want to add one thing to you, and thank you for pointing out the hypocrisy. And this is what drives me crazy because, like I said, I'm in the middle. So I get it from both ends. I get blasted by my MAGA family and friends, blast me and want to pull me in. And I argue with them terribly. But I also argue with the far woke left side of my family and friends. And I have both because neither side calls out the hypocrisy in their own. And you do. I love that you can see it. And that's amazing because most people can't. They're blind. The Republicans, I always say, one thing I like about the Republicans is you know where you stand. They don't hide it. They don't sugarcoat it. And if you don't see what they're all about, then you're blind. Because, like you said, they're pretty clearly for the billionaires, for a certain class of people, but at least they don't hide it. What drives me crazy about the Democrats, certain Democrats, not all Democrats, certain Democrats, especially ones maybe more center leaning, is that they pretend to care about certain groups and they pretend like it's so upsetting. And I have this problem with the Hollywood elite and a lot of the elites who don't give a rat's behind about the struggling person in the hood. Don't get me wrong. They live in elite places. They would gain communities. They would never let people who look like us in there. Yet they get on their high horse and make these statements. And I have less respect for those people. And they are totally all about their own money, their own power, their own prestige, but they act like they care about the people in the hood. And that to me is even worse because that's completely hypocritical. They don't give a rat's behind, and the record shows. So they're just pretending to care. And that I really have a problem with. I don't know how you feel.
I think we agree on a lot more than I thought we were going to agree on. Because I was like, oh no, wait a minute, you talking about doing what?
But I wasn't always like this, Tracy. I'm 60, almost 62. It took me a long road to get here. You and I might not have agreed 10, 20 years ago. but I am now where I'm seeing the hypocrisy everywhere. And I just want an end to the two-party system. I think we need a third party. And I think you and I
Okay,
agree on that.
yeah, we definitely agree on that. But here comes my counter argument. We literally you just said that you're diving into libertarians. I said I used to be with Greens. I used to be with Justice for All. Now, for me, the choice was I'm just going to stay independent and vote for the candidate and not the party because for me, it just made more sense. But, question, do you build just, you know, call a summit of all the third parties and say, hey, what we're going to do, especially for the presidential, I'm going to throw this idea out there. So we know the presidential election is coming up in 2028. Here, everybody, Trump cannot be president 3 times. Stop letting MAGA fool you. It's not going to happen. It's not. We will elect a new president in 2028. Anyway, I just had to get that out because I'm so tired of hearing people. He
Me
may
too.
try to stay. No, the military will remove him from the office. Period. It's already there. Just we're going to get a new president. It may not. This idea probably won't work on the state elections, but it would definitely work for a president. So all the third party, me, Green Party, Libertarian Party, PSL, Socialist, Constitution, Unicorn, Pink Party, Black Panther, all of them just me, whole weekend. Have a debate, have a primary, because we can't technically have primaries. We're a third party because we can't have primaries. But just create a Google Doc. Whoever wins, that's who we all support. We support that person no matter what.
I like that. You know, here's the way I look at it, Tracy. Like you said, that's the problem. The two parties are very entrenched. They have tons of money behind them. And then, like you said, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, the Black Panther, you name it. We're all fractured. We don't have a unified message. If we could all come together, I think there's a lot of people disillusioned on both the right and the left. There's a lot of the MAGA people are really disillusioned and walking away, and they kind of homeless at this point. Same thing on the Democratic side. Could you imagine if we could pull all those people in and make a new party and come together with some kind of compromise? And I don't, it could be a female, a male, a black male, black people, whatever, white, I don't care. Hispanic, I don't care. But whoever that, like you said, whoever that best person, most qualified person is, and take the reins. And if, we would have such a majority, but, how can we, if we could do that, if we could have like a Civil War, Revolutionary War, I don't know if you want to call it civil rights, Martin Luther King moment, JFK, Bobby Kennedy, if we can have one of those moments and like reshape this country, I don't know how you do it, but that's what we need. That's what we need. What you just said, you said it better than, I should have just lifted it what you said. That's what we need, what you just said. Now, how do we do that, Tracy? How do we do that?
I've been thinking about this a long time, and I will talk about this tomorrow. So I want everybody to watch tomorrow. Watch tomorrow, the Sunday show at 7. I'm going to specifically talk about how I think it can be accomplished. Because I got some ideas running in my head. I'm like, this
how do we find you, Tracy? Put your stuff out there. I'm going to be I like you.
You can always find me at TRACYMedia 74 on YouTube. That is the easiest place for me to find me.
Is that your channel? Because I'm new to all this. Is that your channel?
That is my channel. Yes, it is. 410 subscribers strong.
411 now.
Well, thank you. But yes,
I got to hit that subscribe.
Like legitimate
7 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, and I'm Pacific and you're Eastern, I think, right? So
it'd be like 4 your time.
Okay.
It'd be 7 my time. But we've got some comments going here. So Thea says the catering to them as an expense of the 80% of communities is held back for decades is not an answer either. America needs a reboot, so he definitely agrees with you. Nelson is in the house. Hi, Nelson. The answer is not going back to the earlier version of the capitalist system. That's right. The problem is what I said. Capitalism itself is the problem. We need to change to a third party socialized democracy system. And then Nelson also says we need to have a third party primary so we can choose one third party
That's what you
candidate
said.
so that we can get
That's
behind.
what you said.
United we stand, divided we fall. I think see we're all saying the same thing. And again, tomorrow I will in detail talk about my idea because you know what? I want the Democrats to know I'm coming for you. I'm not scared of you. I'm not going to be intimidated by you. You can have all the money you want. But what you're not going to do is frighten me. You're not going to keep making these laws where you make it hard to get on the ballot so people can't run. So like I said, we get one presidential candidate and then at the local state level, libertarians can run, Greens can run, everybody run. But that one, because let's face it, that's the only time people pay attention to elections is the presidential elections.
Agreed.
People don't show for the midterms. They should, but they don't. So yeah, I will definitely talk about that in more detail. I have immensely enjoyed this conversation. I think we agreed on a whole lot more than I thought we would. And that's why I have these conversations is so that I can like think about things that I never thought of before in a way that I've never thought of before. I never thought of efficient government, and now I'm thinking, oh, well, you can run that efficiently. Do you need to order all that paper? Do you need to bloat that salary of the top people? Why not give it to the lower people? So I'm glad that you were there. So you said you're new to social media, but you have a way for people to connect to you.
Not yet. Not yet. I gotta figure out. Um, I'm kind of a dinosaur, baby boomer, but I'm trying to figure all this out. I think I found you. Is it Facebook? I found you, Tracy. Is it
You
Facebook?
found me on Facebook.
Yeah. So I'm new to the social media. Um, I kind of was busy, with my own thing, but now I'm retired and I have some time. Um, so I want to get into this, and I'm now getting into a point, maybe like you, Tracy, where I'm literally thinking bigger than myself. I see the end for me, you know, but I'm worried about my children, my grandchildren, humanity, the future generations. I feel like I'm part of the generation that's going to be leaving the country worse off than when I found it, which is a terrible feeling. Feel like we're leaving these young people a hot mess because we're a hot mess right now. We're a hot mess. We need to we need to clean this up. You know, we need Tracy in there. We need you cleaning this up, Tracy.
No,
This
we
is
don't.
not good.
Oh, absolutely not. I will absolutely not. No, no,
But you
no,
want to be
no,
part of the.
no.
I want to be part of the solution, like you want to be part of the solution.
Yeah, I'll be part of the solution, but me running for office, that's not going to happen. I'm going to let Nelson have the. See, here comes the jokes. Okay, this is a running gag on the Tracy Show. Somebody out there thinks that I should run for office.
I think you should. Just 1 hour
I
in, I
am
think you
one.
should. You would
I
appeal
am
to a
1 million.
lot of people. I took an
I am
immediate
one
liking to you.
million percent. I'm 1 million% against it. And I've discussed in depth why I am against it. Because I play to win. I can't I play to
But
win.
think of how many people you would reach. You know, you know, anyway, I think you should think about it. I don't want to, I don't want to, I
Oh,
don't
I
want to.
thought about it. The thought crossed my mind, and I said, see, my problem is I got a big mouth. If people think Trump is unhinged, I'm way worse than him. I'm like, oh, yep. I'll just say something and I won't care. Phyllis, I don't like snowflakes on the left, and I don't like snowflakes on the right.
Yeah, but that's a
They both.
good thing. I think that would be refreshing. And you have an intelligence about you that I picked up right away. And I'm not just saying that, believe me, I call it like I see it. If I didn't think that, I would say nothing. I would, like my mom, like mama said, don't say nothing. If you don't have anything nice, don't say it. I would just be quiet. But there's something about you, Tracy. You grabbed me within the first 5 minutes. Your directness, your honesty, you got something to you. You got something to you. Anyway, whatever. Think about it.
I know. Like, no. So
Okay.
want to think I'd
Well,
be
you
a
could be involved
fantastic,
in other ways. You'll be involved in
yeah,
other ways.
I think I'd be a fantastic campaign manager. I think I would do
Perfect.
really well. But me running for office, see, Indiana's so Republican. I'm like, because there's literally only, I wouldn't, to me, running for city council, that don't waste my, I'm not going to say it's not important. If
I
I was
identified
going
what it is.
to do it,
Your passion. Your passion. That's what it is. Because I'm a passionate person. You're passionate about this. And that people
yeah,
feel that. We need a passionate person who cares, who really cares. I can tell you really care on a deep level.
absolutely I do. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm the best person. I think there's somebody better than me. I think there's a lot of people better than me.
But let's find that person. Let you
Yeah,
and I
that's
work
what
to
I'm
get
like
that person.
concentrating. I'm like, who this person? So, guys, tomorrow, tune in for the Tracy Show, not the Tracy Show, the Sunday show. So let me get this right. The Tracy Show will return to Thursdays. Last Thursday, I was not feeling well at all. I was like, oh no, I'm not going on. So I moved it to Saturday, but we'll return back to our normal Thursday. Remember that we will move to 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time in May. We will absolutely move to our May. We will move that first Thursday in May. The after party um that we will have once a month. I'm still looking for people to sign up for that because my idea is, well, I'll talk about that tomorrow. But the Sunday show, just so you all know I'm a big old huge football fan. So this is the podcast that I got to tide me over until September. So we go every Sunday at 7 o'clock p.m. Tune in tomorrow. It's Palm Sunday. I got a special little message, but I'm going to definitely spend a lot of time talking about what I think third parties can do to win elections and actually win and actually raise some money and actually get out there to win. And I'm hoping people will at least hear what I have to say and not be like, well, we're doing it. No, I don't need that. I'm just telling you what I think. But remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Subscribe, share, comment, subscribe. We are at 410. We need 90 more to get to 500. Everybody, thank you so very much. Thank you, Phil, for being adjustable when I told you I'm not going to be coming on Thursday because I'm not feeling
No
off.
problem.
And thank you for coming. But we will return to our Thursday schedule. Next Thursday, we'll have another guest. I believe they will also be, and this will be the first female that I've interviewed this year. So I'm looking forward to this. She's a female and she's libertarian, so we're gonna have a real good discussion. But anyway, don't want to keep anybody because I'm supposed to be on another podcast. Um, um, subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Share this episode with 5 people. Share it with 5 people. Thank you all. Have a fantastic day. Bye, everybody.